I wake up to the sound of my alarm, the same way I did yesterday, and the day before. The sunlight creeping through the blinds feels like an uninvited guest in the otherwise dim room. I drag myself out of bed, careful not to wake my roommate. She's been struggling too, different battles, but the same war. I put on a pair of jeans that are a little too tight now, and a shirt that used to fit better. I feel like I'm shrinking into myself, but I can't stop. I can't afford to stop. I can't remember the last time I didn't feel like I was drowning. It used to be that when I got up in the morning, I thought about my day in terms of what I wanted to do, what goals I had for my personal life, and where I saw myself in a year, 5 years, maybe 10. Now, the first thing on my mind is how to stretch my paycheck far enough to cover rent, bills, and food, without falling behind. The rent increase this year was brutal. And then the car broke down, again. Every time I think I've caught up, the next expense pops up like a game of whack-a-mole. I didn't think much about the cost of living back when I was younger. Everyone told me that once I finished college, I'd figure it out. It's not like I expected riches or anything, but I did think that at least I'd be able to get by, that my income would grow in a way that matched inflation. I thought that if I just worked hard enough, I could keep up with it all. I guess I was naive. But here I am, barely scraping by. My job is solid, I guess. I work full-time at a marketing agency, and I've been there for 2 years. But the pay is nothing special, and every time I get a raise, one of those tiny annual bumps that barely cover inflation, I still feel like I'm sinking. I can feel the pressure on my chest even now, as I take my first sip of coffee. I don't really drink it for the taste. I drink it because it's the only thing that helps me shake off the exhaustion. But no matter how much I drink, it never seems to be enough to clear the fog. I used to dream about having the freedom to travel, to have enough savings to get away for a week, or maybe even a month. Those things seem so out of reach now. Every time I check my bank account, I see the same thing, a number that makes me feel both grateful and terrified. Grateful that I haven't gone overdrawn yet. Terrified that if something unexpected happens, if I get sick or if the car breaks down again, I'll be in deep trouble. I look at my phone, scrolling through the calendar for the week. There are appointments and meetings, of course. But what stands out is the upcoming bill payment, and the fact that I haven't been able to save a single dollar for the past few months. I don't want to be one of those people who has to ask for help, but the thought of calling my parents for money, even though I know they would help, makes me feel ashamed. They've already done so much for me, and I'm still trying to make it on my own. The weight of that expectation sits on my shoulders. They worked so hard for so many years so I could have the opportunity to be here, doing what I'm doing now. But I can't shake the feeling that I'm falling short. I can't help but wonder if they're disappointed, even though they'd never say it. I think about the future, about what it could be if things were different. If I had the freedom to follow a dream without wondering how I'd make it through the next month. I'd go back to school, maybe pursue a degree in something that actually excites me. I'd travel, see the world, even if it meant a little less security. But for now, those dreams are just that, dreams. Things I think about late at night when the apartment is quiet, and the weight of the world feels like it's pressing against me harder than usual. I try to remind myself that everyone around me is feeling it, too. We're all stuck in this grind, where every step forward feels like a struggle and every bill that comes in feels like a reminder that we're not winning. I can't count the number of times I've had conversations with friends who are facing the same issues: high rent, stagnant wages, and the creeping fear of what happens if something goes wrong. The world is changing, but the rules are stuck in the past. We're not expected to be able to afford homes, to save for retirement, or to have a little bit of peace of mind. Instead, we're expected to keep hustling, keep pushing, keep pretending that this is all just part of the process. I look over at the small pile of bills on the kitchen table: electric, internet, my student loan payment, which feels like it will haunt me forever. Sometimes I wish I could just quit everything, sell everything, and leave. But that's a fantasy. I can't afford to be reckless, not in a world where every mistake costs more than I can pay. So, I make my decisions carefully. I skip the morning coffee shop run with friends because I can't spare the extra few dollars. I shop only at discount stores, even though I sometimes feel embarrassed about it. I pick up shifts whenever I can, even though the thought of working more hours makes me feel even more exhausted. I've stopped going out for fun because I don't know when my next paycheck will arrive, and I'd rather have that money in the bank than spend it on a night out. But it's hard, you know? It's hard to constantly make these choices, day after day, and feel like the weight is never lifting. It's like I'm caught in this endless loop, where I'm always working, always hustling, always hoping that next month will be better, but it never is. I used to dream about being more than just getting by. I wanted to have a career that inspired me, a life that felt like it was my own. Now, I just want to be able to make it through the next month without feeling like I'm falling apart. But I know I can't give up. I know that if I keep pushing, if I keep working, maybe one day things will get better. Maybe one day I'll be able to breathe without feeling like I'm suffocating under the weight of everything. But for now, all I can do is survive. And sometimes even that feels like enough. But I still hold on to the hope. I still hold on to the idea that someday, maybe I'll have the chance to live, not just survive. Because what else is there? If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious, when do you usually watch my videos? While working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. There's a weight that's hard to describe, a constant pressure I've learned to live with. It's the kind of pressure that doesn't go away when you wake up in the morning, no matter how many times you try to shake it off. It's not something you can ignore or put aside. It's right there, all the time, sitting on your chest, wrapping itself around your thoughts. Money. Or rather, the lack of it. I'm in my mid-20s, and it feels like everything is supposed to be coming together by now, right? People say this is the time to start building a career, to chase your dreams, to figure out who you are. But every day, I'm just trying to keep my head above water. Every day, I'm watching as the gap between my income and expenses grows wider, faster, like a riptide dragging me further out into an ocean I can't escape from. I wake up early, earlier than I want to, because that's when I have the most time to be alone with my thoughts. It's quiet in the morning, still before the world starts rushing around, and I can pretend for just a few minutes that everything's fine. But then the thought hits me, like it always does. How am I going to make it this month? And it's not just this month, it's every month. Every month, it feels like I'm juggling bills, rent, student loans, groceries, gas, utilities, and then whatever else I can't anticipate. The numbers don't add up, and I know they never will. My rent takes almost half of what I make, and after that, it's a game of rearranging. Should I pay the electric bill or buy food this week? Do I dip into my savings for a doctor's visit, or do I skip it and hope whatever it is passes? I've learned to compromise, to make decisions that make me feel like I'm always losing a little bit of myself in the process. I don't talk about this much. I don't know who I'd talk to. The people I know, they're either in the same boat, or they're too busy with their own problems to notice mine. Social media makes it worse. I see people my age posting about new cars, vacations, parties, things I can't afford, things that feel out of reach. I get stuck scrolling, comparing my life to theirs, wondering how they're doing it. Maybe they're doing better than me. Maybe I'm just doing something wrong. Maybe they're happier. I've always been someone who dreams big. I used to think I could be anything, that life would offer up these incredible opportunities if I just kept working hard enough. But now, my dreams feel like they're stuck in some far-off place, just out of reach. The career I wanted is slipping away, not because I don't have the potential or the skills, but because I'm constantly distracted by the need to survive. The dream of traveling the world, of exploring new cultures, of experiencing life in ways I'd never thought possible, has been replaced with more practical goals, like keeping my car running and not getting evicted. It's exhausting to feel like everything you've worked for is slipping away while the world around you speeds up. I watch the prices of things I need, gas, food, rent, climb higher and higher, while my paycheck stays the same. Sometimes I think about what it would be like to take a break, to step away from it all and just breathe, but that's a luxury I can't afford. I cope by staying busy, by burying myself in work and distracting myself with small things, watching a movie, reading a book, cleaning my apartment. Anything to keep from thinking too much about what I don't have, about how my future feels like it's fading away. There are moments, though, when it all hits me at once, the crushing weight of everything I can't control. There's this anxiety that builds up in my chest, tight and suffocating, as I wonder how long I can keep going like this. I worry about what will happen if something goes wrong, if I lose my job, if there's an emergency, if anything happens that could push me even further into debt. The fear of being unable to catch up haunts me, and I don't know who to turn to when it feels like the system is rigged against me. Sometimes, I want to scream, to yell at the world for making it so hard for people like me to get by. I think about the endless cycle of financial insecurity, how it's been passed down, how it's ingrained in the system. It feels like an unspoken rule that the people who can't afford to climb up will always stay stuck at the bottom. I'm not lazy. I'm not stupid. But I'm stuck. And no matter how hard I try, no matter how many extra hours I pick up or how many things I cut back on, it never seems to be enough. I remember when I first got out of college, full of optimism, ready to take on the world. I had big plans, grand ideas. But now, when I look ahead, it's hard to see a path forward. I've put off going back to school to get my master's because it feels impossible to take on more debt. I put off buying a home because I don't even know how I'd save for a down payment. I put off almost everything that's important to me because every decision I make feels like it's about survival, not living. There are nights when I lie in bed and think about what could have been, about the dreams I've had to push aside. I want to believe that I'll find a way out of this cycle, that I'll figure it out somehow, that things will get better. But right now, it feels like I'm just treading water, going through the motions. I try to remind myself that I'm doing the best I can, but it doesn't always feel like it's enough. I don't know where this story goes. I don't know if I'll ever get to a place where I can breathe easy, where I'm not constantly worried about money, where I don't feel like I'm just surviving, not living. But I keep going. I keep going because, what else is there to do? Because there are moments when I remind myself that I am more than the number in my bank account, that I have value outside of how much money I make. And because maybe, just maybe, things will shift. Maybe one day, the system will change, or maybe I'll find a way to change with it. But for now, I live in the tension between hope and reality, trying to figure out how to survive, and maybe, just maybe, how to start living again. I don't know when it happened, but it feels like I woke up one morning and realized I was drowning. Not in the obvious way, like gasping for breath, but in this slow, suffocating way, like the weight of everything just presses down a little more every day. Every bill, every price hike, every grocery receipt I have to glance at in disbelief, it's like the walls of a cage keep moving in closer, and I'm just stuck here, trying to figure out how to make it all fit. I'm 24. And I feel like I've been stuck in this weird limbo between the hopes of being a successful adult and the reality of living paycheck to paycheck. I don't know how this happened. When I was younger, I had dreams. Big ones. I thought that by now, I'd be somewhere else, somewhere better. But now? Now I'm barely scraping by, and every time I look up, it feels like the ground beneath me just shifts a little more. It's funny, people say that when you're young, everything's supposed to be possible. The world's supposed to be at your feet. But I can't even afford to get my car fixed without going into debt. The fact that I have a credit card balance that grows faster than I can pay it off? That's just a constant reminder that there's no room for mistakes. And I keep making them. The rent's been creeping up steadily for the past 2 years, but my paycheck? My paycheck stays the same. Maybe if I worked overtime, maybe if I picked up a second job, but then there's the exhaustion. The emotional toll. I've tried. I've taken up freelance work on the side, but after paying for gas to get to jobs and the late-night food deliveries that somehow end up as part of the routine, I'm left with pennies. I'm so tired. Sometimes I think about what it would feel like to have just one full, uninterrupted day where I don't have to think about money. Just one day where I'm not staring at my bank account, calculating if I can afford to buy coffee this week or if I need to skip out on lunch just to get by. The worst part is how it affects everything: my mood, my relationships, my mental health. I wake up most mornings feeling like I'm in a constant battle. I try to push myself out of bed with the hope that things will get better, but deep down, I know that nothing's really changing. And it's not even just the financial pressure, it's the anxiety that builds with it. I check my phone before anything else, looking for signs of something new, some unexpected expense, a late bill that didn't get paid, an email that tells me my insurance went up again. There's this low-grade panic that hums in the background, always reminding me that I'm walking a tightrope, and one wrong move could send me plummeting. I've started to distance myself from my friends. I don't even want to see them anymore because I feel ashamed. They're doing okay, or at least they seem to be. They post about vacations, new gadgets, new clothes, and I wonder how they manage it all. Maybe they don't have the same worries I do. Maybe their parents help out, or maybe they've got a better paying job. Or maybe they're just better at pretending that everything's fine. I don't know. What I do know is that I feel like I'm in a race I didn't sign up for, and I'm losing. I can't even bring myself to talk to my family about this. It's like a dark cloud hanging over every conversation. They love me, of course, but it's hard to admit that I'm struggling when I know they've got their own issues to deal with. Sometimes I wonder if they ever worry about me, if they know just how much this weight presses down on me. I've been dreaming less lately. I used to have plans. I used to imagine traveling the world, starting a little business, going to school for something I love. But every time I get close to those dreams, I remember the bills I haven't paid yet, or the rent increase that's coming, or the reality that I'm never going to be able to save for the future if this cycle keeps going. Those dreams feel far away now, like they're not even mine anymore. I don't know how to get back to that place where everything felt possible. But I'm trying. That's all I can do, right? Try. I've learned to find small victories in the day-to-day. The other day, I treated myself to a coffee. It felt like a huge win. Maybe it sounds stupid, but the act of spending a little money on something that wasn't essential, it made me feel human again. Just for a moment, I wasn't a person bogged down by bills and loans. I was a person who got to enjoy something simple. And that's all I can really hold on to, those little moments where I feel like I'm not completely swallowed by the weight of it all. I take comfort in the fact that I'm surviving, that I haven't given up yet. That I still get up every morning and keep moving forward, no matter how heavy the load feels. The hardest part, though, is feeling like this is just the beginning. That no matter how much I hustle, how hard I work, the system's not built for someone like me. The rent will keep rising. The grocery prices will keep going up. Wages will remain stagnant, and I'll keep floating in this same place, trying to keep my head above water. I wish I had more answers. I wish I could offer some hopeful resolution, something to make this all feel easier. But I don't. I just know that I'm not alone in this, even though it sometimes feels like it. I see the news, I hear people talking about inflation, I know I'm part of a generation that's caught in a system that's increasingly difficult to navigate. I just want to break free from it, if only for a little while. But for now, I'm here. Still struggling. Still trying to hold on to those dreams, even when they feel so far out of reach. And maybe, just maybe, one day I'll be able to look back at this time and say that I made it through. That the pressure didn't break me, even if it bent me in ways I never expected. For now, though, I'll keep fighting. I'll keep holding on to the small things, those fleeting moments where I get to feel like I'm not just surviving, but living. Maybe that's all we can do. The weight of it all presses down on me every morning as I open my eyes, the day already heavy with its promises of more bills, more stress, more moments of wondering how long I can keep juggling everything. I'm 24. My friends talk about big promotions, about making plans for travel, buying new things, but all I can think about is how I'm going to pay rent next month. How I'm going to afford the basics. It's not that I don't have dreams, it's that I can't seem to afford them. Not now. Not in the near future. Maybe never. Every morning, I check my bank account, an act I dread because it never shows what I hope it will. I tell myself it's just a routine. A normal thing everyone does, but I feel a pit in my stomach every time, like the numbers are laughing at me. They mock my efforts to keep afloat, to hold on to any semblance of security. I don't know when things got this hard. I mean, I've always known life wasn't easy, but when I was younger, I never really understood what it meant to be stretched so thin. I thought I would be okay. I thought I could figure it out. I still tell myself that every day, like some mantra to get through another 24 hours. I've been working 2 jobs for a year now, one full-time at a small marketing agency that barely pays enough to cover rent, and the other a part-time gig in retail. The retail job is what I don't talk about to my friends. It's embarrassing. I was supposed to have outgrown that by now. But no one warns you that the world doesn't give you a break, especially when you don't have a cushion to fall back on. My parents, who once seemed to have everything under control, are barely getting by themselves. They can't help me. So, I'm stuck in this constant loop of work, exhaustion, and worrying. And the bills keep coming. They're relentless. It's not just the rent. It's the groceries, the insurance payments, the phone bill, the car payment. The little things that, on their own, wouldn't seem like much, but together they eat away at every dollar I make. I remember the first time I had to take out a credit card just to make it through the month. I felt like I was sinking. But the truth is, there are times when I feel like there's no other choice. The cost of living is climbing, and my income can barely keep up. The worst part is how I feel invisible in all of this. I'm not lazy. I work hard. I give everything I've got, but it doesn't feel like enough. The world around me feels like it's moving forward, and I'm just trying to stay in place. People around me seem to have everything figured out, their lives moving in the direction I always thought mine would be. I wonder if I'll ever have that, or if I'm destined to be stuck in a cycle of survival, of making it through one day only to start over again. I try to tell myself I'm not the only one. That there are people out there who are struggling in ways I can't even imagine. But that doesn't change the feeling of being trapped. I have dreams, big ones. I want to travel. I want to learn new things, to move to a different city, to do work that actually excites me. I want to have a life where I don't have to choose between paying my rent and buying food for the week. But every time I get close to even thinking about taking a step in that direction, something holds me back. A bill comes due. A repair needs to be made. The cycle begins again. I feel like I've had to postpone so much. It's like I'm always holding off, waiting for a time when I can finally breathe. But the time never seems to come. Some days, I can't even look at my dreams without feeling this deep sense of loss, like they belong to someone else. I used to think that with hard work, things would get easier. But now, it feels like the harder I work, the more I'm pulled into a system that's designed to keep me where I am. I've tried to stay positive. I tell myself that eventually things will work out, that I just have to keep pushing. But some nights, it feels like the weight of it all is too much. I lie awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering how long I can keep this up. Wondering if I'll ever get a break, or if I'm just destined to exist in this kind of limbo forever. It's exhausting, mentally and emotionally. I've had to push away certain feelings, just to survive. There are days when I want to cry, when the thought of facing another day makes my chest tighten with anxiety. But I don't have the luxury of slowing down. I can't afford to be weak. I can't afford to fall behind. So, I keep going. I keep working. I keep pretending I have it together. But there's always a part of me that feels broken. Sometimes I can't help but think about what could have been. What could have happened if I'd had a little more help, if the system wasn't stacked against me in this way? I know that sounds dramatic, but when you live paycheck to paycheck, when you watch the world change while you stand still, it's hard not to feel bitter about it. I try not to compare myself to others. I try not to look at what my friends have and wonder why I can't have it too. But it's hard not to. I see them posting pictures from trips, buying things I can't even dream of affording, moving into apartments that feel like a different world. And I try to be happy for them, I really do, but it stings. It stings so much. I don't want to be bitter. I want to be happy for their success, but it's hard when you're stuck in the mud, unable to move forward. Sometimes, I try to imagine what it would be like to feel free. To not have to count every penny, to not have to make impossible decisions every month. I try to picture what my life could look like if I didn't have this constant pressure hanging over me. But it feels so far away. Like a dream I've had to put on hold for the foreseeable future. I don't know how to change things. I don't have all the answers. But I keep telling myself that someday, something will shift. That someday I won't feel like I'm drowning. Maybe one day, I'll get a job that actually allows me to live a little, to not just survive. Maybe I'll get to travel. Maybe I'll get to have some of the things I put on hold. But for now, I'm just doing my best to keep going, to keep surviving. And some days, that feels like enough. I just hope that one day, the world will be a little kinder to people like me, the ones who try, who push, who work hard, but can't seem to get ahead. I don't need a lot. I just need enough to breathe. Enough to believe that I don't have to be stuck forever. I can feel the weight of it, pressing down on me every day. It's not just a number on a bank statement or a sudden spike in my credit card bill, it's this constant, gnawing sensation in the pit of my stomach, as though I'm always falling just a little too fast to catch myself. When I was younger, I imagined adulthood as a kind of freedom, a space where I could make my own choices, live with some autonomy. But somewhere along the way, I learned that adulting is really just managing an endless series of bills and obligations, constantly chasing after some idea of security that always feels just out of reach. Every morning when I wake up, the first thing I do is check my phone. It's like a reflex, even though I know what I'll see, a string of alerts, messages from my bank app reminding me that I'm running low or that I've just spent more than I should have. I go through the motions, get dressed, make breakfast, shove the thought of the bills aside for a few minutes, and start the day. But in the back of my mind, there's always the looming reality: rent is due next week, my student loan payments are creeping back after a brief deferral, and the cost of groceries keeps rising. It's a constant background hum, louder than the noise of the world outside. I'm 26, which seems too young to feel this tired. I should be excited, ambitious, filled with potential, right? I should be pursuing dreams, forging ahead. Instead, I'm stuck in this cycle where everything I work for feels like it gets swallowed up before I even get the chance to breathe. I don't even know where my money goes most of the time. Rent eats up more than half of what I bring in, and then there's transportation, utilities, food. Don't even get me started on trying to make sure I have some sort of emergency cushion. I used to think about going to the gym after work or spending a weekend on a road trip to clear my mind, but now I find myself calculating whether I can afford an extra hour at a coffee shop or if I should stick to making do with what I have at home. Every decision feels weighed down by a fear of being too extravagant. I've heard people say, live within your means, and I get it, I do. But what if your means are shrinking every day? What if your paycheck feels like it's somehow worth less by the time it hits your account? The world is moving faster than I am, and I'm doing everything I can just to keep up. My friends are starting to buy homes or travel abroad, and here I am, trying to keep my head above water. I can't help but feel like I'm falling behind, like I've missed some memo about how to make the most of life when everything is stacked against you. Sometimes I try to distract myself from the stress, watch TV, scroll through social media, drown out the thoughts with noise. But I can't escape the nagging sense of being trapped. I've started to get used to the constant tightness in my chest, the subtle anxiety that creeps in when I think about the future. I try not to, but I can't help but wonder if I'll ever break out of this cycle, if I'll ever be able to afford something just for myself without feeling guilty about it. Will I ever have the luxury of thinking about retirement savings, or will I always be living paycheck to paycheck? I cope the best I can. I don't ask for help, I don't want to burden anyone with my financial mess. My parents already gave me a leg up when I graduated, helping me with the initial costs of living on my own. But they've got their own worries, their own bills, and I don't want to add to theirs. So I keep it to myself. I'm good at putting on a face, pretending I've got it all together. No one ever knows that I've had to skip meals to stretch my grocery budget or that I sometimes drive around the block just to avoid seeing the overdue notices piling up at home. I hate the feeling of being embarrassed, but it's there, hanging over me like a shadow I can't shake. The hardest part is when I think about my dreams, the things I wanted to do when I was younger. I wanted to travel, to live abroad for a while, to take risks with my career, to create something that could outlast me. But now, those dreams feel like distant, naive fantasies. Every time I get close to making one of them happen, reality comes crashing down. A flat tire, a medical bill, a sudden rent increase, something always seems to pull the rug out from under me. I'm stuck in this grind, and I don't know how to break free. I can't afford to take a step back and reassess, and I can't afford to take a leap forward either. I know I'm not alone in this. Everyone I know is struggling in some way, whether it's trying to keep up with rising costs or juggling multiple jobs just to make ends meet. The world feels like it's set up to push us down rather than lift us up, and all the rhetoric about hard work paying off feels like a lie, at least in my experience. It's exhausting, trying to stay positive when every turn feels like it's stacked against you. I wonder how many other people feel this way, like they're constantly on the edge, just barely making it, always afraid that one wrong move will send everything crashing down. I keep thinking about the future. Will I ever be able to own a home, or is that a dream I'll never realize? What about the things that really matter, like security, or peace of mind? I can't help but wonder if I'll ever get to a place where I can live without constantly worrying about the next expense, the next financial hurdle. Will I always be on the edge, caught in a system that feels like it's designed to keep me stuck in place? I'm not giving up, not entirely. I'm trying to stay hopeful, even though it feels like the odds are stacked against me. I've learned to take it day by day, to focus on the small victories, finding a way to save a few dollars here, picking up a side gig when I can, making sure I'm not drowning in debt. But it's hard, so hard, to keep going sometimes. Every time I think I've made progress, there's another setback. And with each setback, I feel that dream of something better slipping further away. It's exhausting, constantly fighting to stay afloat. But I keep pushing forward because that's all I can do. I try not to let the weight of it crush me, even though it often feels like it will. The hardest part, I think, is learning to be okay with where I am, even when it feels like I'm miles away from where I want to be. The hope is still there, buried beneath the worry. I just have to keep holding on, no matter how heavy it gets. I wonder if I'll ever get to a place where I'm not constantly fighting, constantly worrying. Maybe someday, I'll look back and think about how far I've come. But for now, I just keep moving forward, one small step at a time. That's all I can do. It's hard to put into words what it feels like to be stuck in a loop where every decision you make is based on how much you can afford, where living in the moment seems like a luxury, and planning for the future feels like a cruel joke. I'm in my mid-20s, and I'm constantly trying to figure out how I got here. Every time I try to picture what I want my life to look like in a few years, it's like I'm chasing something that slips just out of reach, like a dream that keeps fading the moment I wake up. My apartment feels smaller every month, not physically, but emotionally. I'm staring at my laptop screen right now, the one that's on its last legs but somehow still functional enough to write this. I've had it for about 5 years now, and it's a reminder of all the little sacrifices I've made to keep it going. I think about how much I used to dream of traveling, of having a career that I loved, of living somewhere I could feel comfortable, not just scraping by. But now? Now it feels like I'm holding on to a lifeline that keeps slipping through my fingers, and I can't keep up. It's not just the bills. It's not just the rent that went up last month or the groceries that are somehow 20% more expensive than they were last year. It's not even the gas prices that make me second-guess every trip I take, or the cost of healthcare that's slowly becoming another bill I can't pay. It's the overwhelming pressure of constantly having to make trade-offs. Should I go out with friends this weekend, or should I save that $40 for the dentist appointment I've been putting off for months? I could probably use a new pair of shoes since mine are starting to fall apart, but I'll have to stretch the ones I have a little longer because I know I can't afford to replace them right now. It's like living in a constant state of fear that something unexpected will happen, something small like a flat tire or a surprise doctor's bill, that will push me over the edge. I don't have an emergency fund, and I haven't been able to save for anything meaningful in over a year. I can't even tell you the last time I took a vacation. That's a joke, really. When people ask me about what I want to do with my life, I usually smile and say something vague like, I don't know yet, but I have some ideas. The truth is, I'm too scared to have a plan because I can't see a way out. Everything is tied to money, and if I don't have enough of it, none of my dreams can survive. I'm caught in this cycle where my income barely keeps pace with my expenses. It's a fight to keep up with rent, utilities, transportation, and food, those basic things that make up the skeleton of my existence. But every time I think I'm close to breaking even, something else demands my attention, a credit card payment, a medical bill, something unexpected. I get a paycheck, and I immediately do the math in my head. How much can I pay on this debt? How much can I save, if at all? Sometimes, I even find myself skipping meals or cutting out small comforts just to make sure I can get by. People keep telling me things will get better, that I just need to be patient, that the grind will pay off eventually. But the truth is, I'm exhausted. I'm emotionally drained from constantly having to weigh my worth against my bank balance. I feel like I'm giving everything I have just to survive, and it's never enough. The reality is, no matter how hard I work, no matter how much I try to hustle, the system feels like it's stacked against me. It feels like the harder I push, the faster the world keeps running away from me. And yet, despite it all, there's a part of me that still clings to hope. I remind myself that I'm young, that I have time to figure it out, that things could change if I just keep pushing. But then I catch myself thinking about the future, and I realize I'm so far behind. My friends are talking about buying homes, about saving for retirement, about making plans for families, and I can barely think about next month without feeling overwhelmed. I can't help but wonder how other people manage it. How do they keep up with everything when I feel like I'm sinking? Are they pretending? Are they as scared as I am? It's not like I'm doing anything wrong, at least, I don't think I am. I work hard. I've worked multiple jobs before, and I keep taking on freelance gigs, trying to make ends meet. But nothing seems to make the difference. It's like the costs of living are increasing exponentially while my paychecks stay stubbornly the same. Sometimes I find myself imagining, what it would be like to not worry about money. What would it feel like to just exist without the constant weight of it all pressing on my chest? I dream about taking a road trip across the country, stopping in random towns, feeling the wind on my face as I drive for hours with no destination in mind. I dream about moving into a place that feels like home, a space that's mine, where I can decorate the walls without feeling like I'm throwing money away. I dream about spending time with my family, or meeting someone new without having to think about how I can afford the date, or the coffee, or the gas to get there. I dream about a life where I don't have to make these impossible decisions every day. But those dreams are distant now. They feel like they belong to someone else, someone who isn't weighed down by debt or bills. Sometimes, I feel like I'm pretending to be okay, like I'm playing a role in a movie where the script was written by someone who doesn't understand what it's like to live in constant financial fear. It's exhausting. I've tried to stay positive, to remind myself that this is temporary, that I'm young, and that things could change. But it's hard not to feel like I'm failing. And I can't escape the feeling that no matter how hard I try, I'll always be playing catch up, always a step behind. I don't know what my future looks like anymore. Maybe things will get better, maybe I'll get a better job, or maybe some miracle will happen and I'll be able to dig myself out of this hole. But I think a part of me has already accepted that I might just have to survive this. I'll keep doing what I can, keep going through the motions, and keep hoping that someday, somehow, things will change. For now, I'll take it one day at a time. But I can't help but feel the weight of every choice I make, every dollar I spend, every opportunity one lets slip by because I can't afford it. It's a heavy feeling, one that stays with me every day, every moment. But I try not to let it crush me. I try to hold on to hope, even when it feels like hope is slipping through my fingers. Maybe someday, things will be different. For now, I just have to keep going. It's hard to remember a time when things didn't feel so tight. Sometimes I close my eyes and try to picture it, when rent wasn't a looming cloud that threatened to rain down on every plan, when I could go out with friends without calculating the cost of dinner or the gas to get there, when I didn't have to check my bank balance every single day, as if maybe, just maybe, there's some miracle I missed. But that was before. Now, I wake up every day with a weight that's been there for months, maybe years, and I'm starting to wonder if it'll ever let up. I'm 25. On paper, I should be starting my life. The world should be full of possibilities, but it doesn't always feel that way. I graduated with a degree in marketing a few years ago, hopeful and excited about a future I was sure would be a lot easier to navigate than it's turned out to be. I thought I had it all figured out. I thought I'd land a job, climb the ladder, maybe even get a nice apartment of my own in a year or two. But nothing has gone according to plan, and now it's hard to even remember what that plan was. The economy is a joke. A bad one. The job I have now isn't terrible, but it's not what I imagined either. The pay is low for the work I do, and every year, it seems like the raises don't keep up with inflation. My company always talks about cutting costs and adjusting for market conditions, but it's my paycheck that ends up getting squeezed. I could be more aggressive about looking for something better, but every time I search, I find myself frozen. What if I don't find anything at all? What if I take a leap, and there's no safety net beneath me? It's terrifying. The bills don't care about my fears. They just show up, month after month, demanding attention. Rent has gone up twice since I moved into this apartment, and I'm sure it'll happen again soon. I try to save where I can, cutting out little luxuries like takeout or shopping, but it never feels like enough. Every day feels like I'm running in place. My bank account is a constant reminder of how far I am from where I need to be. I can't afford to get ahead, let alone stay afloat sometimes. Then there's the little things. Gas prices keep climbing. Groceries are another blow. Every time I go to the store, I cringe at the total. I've had to trade in my usual brand of coffee for a cheaper, instant version. I've learned to buy generic when I can, but it doesn't feel like it matters. It's still the same depressing cycle. I used to think I was doing okay when I could treat myself to a nice meal, but now I just feel guilty. There's this constant guilt, a voice in my head saying that I shouldn't spend, shouldn't indulge. That everything I'm doing is just delaying the inevitable. The inevitable being. I don't even know what. A breakdown? A realization that I'll never escape this grind? What's worse is how I've stopped dreaming. I used to have big plans, dreams of traveling, of moving somewhere far from this city, of building a future I could look forward to. But each day feels like those dreams get further and further out of reach. The idea of saving enough money for a vacation seems laughable. It's like trying to catch smoke with your bare hands. And I've given up on buying a house. I watch friends on social media post about their new places, their new cars, and I try not to feel bitter. I try not to hate them, but it's hard not to. They're the ones who made it. They have something I can't touch. And that's the thing, nothing feels within reach anymore. It's like I'm stuck in a system that keeps tightening its grip on me. And even if I try to claw my way out, the ground keeps shifting, the bar keeps moving, and I'm left standing still. It's exhausting. I wish I could be one of those people who tell themselves that they're doing their best and feel proud of it, but that's not how it feels. Instead, it feels like I'm barely scraping by, like I'm living paycheck to paycheck and waiting for the day the world catches up with me. The pressure gets to me. Some days, it's more than I can handle. I find myself spiraling, overthinking every dollar spent, every decision made. Should I have bought that extra pack of gum? Should I have taken that Uber instead of the bus? Every little thing becomes a potential disaster, a mistake that could leave me in a worse place than I already am. I cope in strange ways. Sometimes, I just escape into sleep. I'll turn off my phone, pull the covers over my head, and pretend that the world doesn't exist for a while. It's the only way to silence the worry. Other times, I lose myself in work, focusing so much on the task at hand that I forget to think about my financial future. But that doesn't last long, and when the workday ends, the worry comes crashing back. I've had to cut back on what I thought were essential parts of my life. Friends? I don't have the money to hang out anymore. The occasional brunch or night out has been replaced with Zoom calls and text messages. I miss seeing them in person, but it's not worth going into more debt just to spend a few hours together. I've missed birthdays, holidays, and those little get-togethers that used to make life feel fuller. And when I do go out, I feel like I'm pretending to be okay, pretending that I'm not drowning, pretending that I'm not counting every dollar in my head. I postponed my dreams for so long that I'm not sure I even have the energy to chase them anymore. I wanted to write a book. I wanted to learn how to dance. I wanted to travel. But every time I start thinking about it, I remember the bills. I remember that the rent's due in a week. I remember that my car's about to need repairs, and I'm already putting off the oil change because that costs money too. And yet, there's a part of me that still holds on to hope. It's not much, just a flicker, but it's there. Maybe things will get better. Maybe one day I'll find a way to break out of this cycle. Maybe I'll land a job that pays better, or maybe I'll find a way to make enough money on my own to finally breathe. I tell myself that there's got to be more than this, that there's something on the other side of the struggle. But it's getting harder to believe it. Every day, I wonder if I'm doing the best I can or if I'm just surviving. And I don't know which one feels worse. So for now, I keep going. I keep pushing forward because what else can I do? I try to find moments of peace, moments where I can forget the pressure for a little while. And maybe, just maybe, I'll get there someday. But for now, it's one day at a time. One day at a time. I wake up to the sound of my phone buzzing with notifications, texts, emails, reminders. But it's the same one that hits me like a punch every month: the rent is due. The reminder's tone is just another weight added to the one I've been carrying. Some days, it feels like I'm drowning under the pressure, and other days, it feels like I'm treading water just to stay afloat. But no matter how much I try to swim, the waves keep coming. More bills, more expenses, more reasons to feel like I'm constantly playing catch-up. I thought things would get easier as I got older, but somehow it feels like I'm farther away from a life that makes sense. Every time I look at my bank account, there's this sick feeling in my stomach, a reminder that the money I have doesn't quite stretch as far as it needs to. The gap between what I earn and what I owe seems to grow wider with each passing month. I work 2 jobs, one full-time, one part-time, hoping that the extra hours will somehow make up for the rise in prices. The gas, the groceries, the rent. It's all going up, faster than I can keep up with. My friends tell me that everyone's struggling, that it's normal, that this is just the way things are now. But that doesn't make it feel any less isolating. Everyone's just doing their best to survive, but no one's talking about how it feels to constantly wonder if you're doing enough. Every decision feels loaded with consequences. Do I splurge on something small, like a coffee or lunch out with a friend, or do I keep everything tight to make sure I can pay my rent on time? There's no room for the kind of spontaneous joy I used to allow myself. No more treat yourself moments, those have been long gone. Now it's all about survival, about putting one foot in front of the other and hoping the next paycheck doesn't disappear faster than the last one. I find myself scrolling through job listings late at night, desperately searching for something better. But what does better even mean anymore? Is it a few extra dollars an hour? A cushy corporate job I'm not sure I even want? What happens if it's not enough either? I try to hold on to the idea that someday things will get better, but that belief is starting to feel like a lie I tell myself so I don't give up entirely. The reality of a higher cost of living is hard to ignore when every trip to the store feels like a gamble, and there's no way to predict what's going to break next. My car breaks down more than I'd like to admit, and each time, I try to convince myself that it'll be fine, that I can fix it without going into debt. But reality sets in fast, and I end up taking out a loan to cover the repairs. More debt, more weight. It's not just the money, though. It's how it affects everything else. There's a part of me that feels like I've lost control of my life. I used to dream about what I wanted my future to look like, traveling, maybe opening a small business, living in a place I love. But now, I find myself just hoping for one thing: stability. I hope for a day when I don't have to worry about how much my rent is going to increase or if I can afford to get a simple haircut without feeling guilty. It seems trivial in the grand scheme of things, but it's a constant reminder that I'm stuck in a loop I can't escape. I try to keep it all together when I'm around others, but the pressure is always there, lurking just beneath the surface. I feel like I'm walking on a tightrope, pretending everything is fine when I know it's not. My friends don't always get it. I don't blame them, they're not dealing with the same thing. Some of them are lucky enough to have stable jobs with higher pay, others still live with their parents, and some of them don't have the same financial responsibilities that I do. And then there's the guilt of feeling like I'm not doing enough to get ahead, even though I'm working as hard as I can. It's as if the harder I work, the farther behind I get. Every week feels like a race against the clock. I think about the future sometimes, and it scares me. I've always tried to stay optimistic, to hold on to hope that one day I'll be able to build something for myself, but now it feels like that dream is just out of reach. What if it never happens? What if I spend my whole life struggling to keep up, never getting ahead? What if all my efforts are in vain? And that fear, that constant nagging fear, keeps me up at night. What if I'm trapped in this system, this cycle of never having enough, for the rest of my life? It's hard not to feel resentful when I see people who seem to have it all together. The ones who can afford vacations or nice things without thinking twice about it. I try not to let jealousy get the best of me, but it's hard to ignore how uneven the playing field is. I've done everything right. I went to college, I worked hard, and yet here I am, still struggling to make ends meet. Some days, it feels like I've been set up to fail. But there are small victories. Little things that keep me going. Like when I can pay down a small part of my credit card debt, or when I finally manage to put a little extra away for an emergency. Or when a friend helps me out with something, or I manage to find a good deal on groceries. I remind myself that I'm doing my best, and sometimes that's all I can do. I take it one day at a time, because looking too far ahead is too overwhelming. I hold on to the hope that somehow, things will improve, that I'll find a way out of this constant financial pressure. I dream of a time when I can live without the weight of money worries hanging over me, when I can finally feel free. But for now, I just have to keep moving forward, even if it's at a slower pace than I'd like. One day, I hope that I'll look back and realize that all of this struggle, this constant fight, was worth it. That I'll have something to show for it, that I'll have made it through. Until then, I'm just trying to keep going, one step at a time. And that's all I can do. Keep going. Hey, friends! If you enjoy this content, don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. We really want to know what you like and what can be improved. What do you think of the video? Are there any topics you'd like to see in future videos? Your feedback really helps us get better. Thanks for being with us. I woke up this morning with the sound of my phone buzzing, the familiar jolt that signals another day in this never-ending grind. I didn't want to check it, but I did. Another notification from my bank account, another reminder that it's almost empty again. Every time I open that app, I feel like I'm waiting for it to tell me something I already know. But maybe, just maybe, today will be different. Spoiler, it never is. The thing is, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. I'm working 40 hours a week at a job that's draining, but I keep at it because, what choice do I have? I'm trying to save, trying to stretch every dollar, trying to manage my student loans, rent, utilities, groceries. But the thing about all of this is that the numbers never add up. Rent is always going up. Utility bills keep creeping higher. Gas prices are constantly fluctuating, and the grocery store? I can't even go in there without feeling like I'm being robbed. And then there's the pressure from every angle. Friends planning vacations or buying new clothes for the seasons. Family asking when I'm going to move out of my tiny apartment, when I'm going to stop living paycheck to paycheck. It's like I'm being watched from all sides, and everyone is waiting for me to catch up, to reach some level of stability. They don't understand, though. How could they? They don't live in my shoes. Some days I feel like I'm running in place, and other days, I feel like I'm sinking. I wake up early, hoping I'll get a burst of energy to start the day, but it never lasts. By mid-morning, I'm already tired, not just from physical exhaustion but from the mental weight of it all. Each dollar spent is a reminder that I'm falling behind. My paychecks come, and they get absorbed before I can even breathe. I'm living in a world where expenses are growing faster than income, and every financial decision feels like a compromise. There's no room for error. I can't afford to get sick, I can't afford to mess up at work, and I certainly can't afford any surprise expenses. It's an endless loop of worry and calculations, constantly evaluating whether I can make it to the end of the month without going into the red. The amount of energy I've spent just on trying to figure out how to stay afloat is exhausting. But what choice do I have? If I stopped trying, I'd drown. Somewhere in all this, I've lost sight of what it means to live with joy. I used to have dreams. Big ones. I wanted to travel, maybe even move to a new city or country, experience things I never imagined. But now, my dreams feel like a distant memory, like something that belonged to another person, another life. I can't even think about things like vacations or taking a day off. I postponed everything, even the small luxuries. A new book? Nope. A nice dinner out? Can't afford it. A day of doing nothing but enjoying life? Seems like an impossible luxury I'll never be able to afford. The worst part is that no one talks about how isolating it feels. I've learned to fake it, to smile when people ask how I'm doing, but inside, it's a different story. There are moments when I wonder if anyone else feels this way, trapped in the system, working hard and still falling short. It's a strange loneliness, because it's not like I'm physically alone, but emotionally? I'm carrying a burden that no one else can see, and sometimes I feel like I'm the only one who knows how heavy it is. There's this constant fear in the back of my mind that I'm just one misstep away from losing it all. When I talk to my friends, it's like we're speaking different languages. They'll ask if I want to grab lunch, or if I'm going to that concert this weekend. But they don't get it. I can't afford the lunch, and the concert is a pipe dream. They don't mean any harm, but every time I have to say no, I feel smaller. I feel like I'm failing somehow, even though I know they don't see it that way. It's like the weight of my financial reality isn't just a personal struggle, but something I have to constantly hide from everyone. And then there are the dreams, the things I used to think would be achievable. I wanted to build a career I could be proud of, one where I wasn't constantly worried about bills and survival. I wanted to be able to take pride in the work I do, to feel like I was progressing and moving forward. But right now, it feels like I'm just existing. I'm getting by, not thriving. I wonder sometimes if things will ever get better. I try not to let the thought of a better future slip too far away, but there are days when I lose hope. The cost of living keeps rising, and wages don't keep pace. I'm trapped in this cycle, where everything I do just feels like running harder to stay in place. The fear of never getting out is real. I see my friends get promotions, go on trips, and buy new things, and I try to remind myself that I'm not them. My path is different. But it's hard not to feel a little bitter. What keeps me going, though, is that small glimmer of hope I still have buried somewhere deep down. I tell myself that if I keep pushing, if I keep being smart with my money, something will change. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually. It's that hope that things will improve, even if it's just a little, that keeps me from sinking too far into despair. Sometimes, I let myself dream. I think about a future where I don't have to count pennies, where I can spend a day without worrying about how much it'll cost. I think about a life where I don't have to measure every single thing I buy against my bank balance. I think about a time when I can look back and know that all this sacrifice, all this struggle, was worth it. Maybe that's just a dream. But it's the one thing that helps me get through each day. I don't know if I'll ever escape this feeling of being trapped. Maybe this will be my reality for a long time. Maybe I'll learn to cope with it, find ways to adjust. But for now, I just keep moving forward. Because what else can I do? I wake up at 7 a.m., my phone's alarm blaring like it's trying to pull me out of something heavier than sleep. I can't even remember the last time I felt fully rested, but that's not what's on my mind. It's the same thing it always is: how am I going to pay for everything today? The rent, the gas, the groceries, the loan repayment that's coming up. My head immediately starts to feel tight as I start going over my bills in my mind. I roll out of bed, trying not to disturb my roommate. She's got her own struggles, but I know they're not as suffocating as mine. I try to keep things light between us. I don't want her to know how much I'm struggling. It's easier to laugh things off than to admit how much I'm constantly teetering on the edge. The apartment feels colder than it should, but I don't turn the heat up. I know if I do, the gas bill will skyrocket, and I can't afford that right now. I throw on a hoodie and jeans, the ones I've worn so many times that I can't even remember if they were ever new. But the worst part? They're fine. People always talk about shopping on a budget like it's some kind of choice, like it's just a thing you can switch on and off, but it's not. It's a survival tactic. Every item I own now is a reminder of that. I grab a granola bar for breakfast, because that's all I've got. I've tried to be more disciplined about eating healthy, but when I'm living paycheck to paycheck, vegetables are a luxury. If I buy them, I'll be too hungry by the end of the week to make it worth it. I'm already counting the days until my next paycheck, just trying to get by, knowing that the next cycle of bills is going to come around and swallow what little I have left. Walking to work is always the same. The same cracks in the sidewalk, the same bus that's a few minutes late. The same people hustling to work, all of us in this quiet, collective struggle. I pass a coffee shop and see the line of people waiting to spend $5 on a latte, and I can't help but feel a pang in my chest. I used to buy coffee every day, before things got bad. But now? That's an extravagance I can't afford. I carry a thermos with instant coffee, which tastes like cardboard, but it's free. I wonder if anyone else notices, if they think I'm just like them, pretending to be fine while everything around me is slipping. When I get to the office, I slip into the back and quietly start my day. No one knows that I spent the last hour sitting in my car, Googling the best ways to save on groceries, wondering if I'll be able to make it until payday. I know I'm lucky to even have a job. So many people are struggling, too, and I remind myself of that every day. But it doesn't make it easier. The thing that hurts the most is that no matter how hard I try to save, no matter how much I cut corners, the cost of living just keeps climbing. Rent has gone up. Utility bills have gone up. Gas prices? Forget it. My paychecks don't seem to stretch as far as they used to. There's always something new coming at me: a medical bill, an unexpected car repair, a friend asking for help, a relative needing something. Every dollar feels like it's being pulled out of my hands faster than I can hold on to it. I try to make small sacrifices, but it's never enough. Last month, I had to choose between paying for a doctor's visit I really needed and buying the textbooks I needed for my class. I ended up skipping the doctor's appointment, because that's what you do when you're constantly in survival mode. I tell myself that I'll be fine, that I just need to push through, but there are days when I feel like the weight of it all is going to crush me. I've been trying to figure out how to make more money, to find a second job or something, but it's like every time I try to make a move, the system is already set up against me. I look around at my coworkers, all of us on the same hamster wheel. None of us seem to be getting ahead. We just keep running faster, harder, and for what? Another expense, another bill. Sometimes I wonder if this is it, if this is the game we're all stuck in. I've even thought about moving back in with my parents, but the idea of doing that makes me feel like a failure. I should be able to make it on my own, right? I should be able to do what everyone else does and live this adult life where things just fall into place. But they don't. They never do. It's like I'm playing a game that I'm always losing, and every time I think I've got a chance to win, the rules change. There's a part of me that just wants to quit. To stop caring about all of this. To leave it all behind and find somewhere, anywhere, where the cost of living isn't a constant threat over my head. But I can't. I can't just walk away. I have dreams, still. There are things I want to do, places I want to go, a future I want to build. But right now, it feels like those dreams are in some far-off land, out of reach, like I'm always running towards something that keeps getting farther away. I've tried to keep my hopes alive, though. I'm always daydreaming about a better life, one where I'm not constantly looking at the balance in my checking account, hoping that it doesn't dip into the red. I think about going back to school, starting my own business, traveling the world. But every time I think about those dreams, I feel a wave of guilt. There's no time for that. No money for that. If I take a break to chase anything, I'll risk losing the little I have. But somehow, every night when I get into bed, I still try to hold on to something. Hope, I guess. It's hard to explain. Hope feels a little like an illusion, like something we convince ourselves we can keep even when the world around us is falling apart. I know that's not really true, that hope doesn't pay the bills, doesn't fix anything, but sometimes, it's the only thing I can hang on to. I've started to accept that the next few years might look like this. There's no easy fix for any of it. But I keep going. I tell myself that there's some kind of breakthrough coming, that maybe I'll get a better job, or the cost of living will slow down, or something will finally change. I can't afford to give up, even though sometimes it feels like I'm running on empty. Maybe I'm just scared of what would happen if I let go of everything, if I stopped pretending that things are going to get better when they don't seem like they ever will. Maybe, in the end, that's what keeps me going, the possibility that one day, somehow, things might be different. Even though right now, it feels like I'm just holding on, one day at a time. I wake up to the sound of my phone buzzing on the nightstand. It's 7:15 a.m. The light outside is just beginning to creep through the blinds, but it feels like I've been awake for hours, tossing and turning. The same familiar thought hits me as it does every morning: how am I going to make it through today? I check my bank account before even getting out of bed. A quick check, it's a habit, one I've grown accustomed to, though it always leaves me with a tightness in my chest. My balance is a few dollars higher than it was last night, but it's still low enough to make me feel like I'm standing on the edge of something. One small mistake, one forgotten bill, one unexpected expense, and it all comes crashing down. I can't afford that. Not today. I scroll through the apps on my phone, rent due in 5 days. Utilities are up by $30 from last month. Groceries, forget it, I'm going to have to make do with what's left in the fridge. Maybe I'll eat cereal for dinner again. I have a credit card payment due, but I already know I can't make the minimum payment without going deeper into debt. How much will my credit score drop if I skip it? I don't even know anymore. It's not that I'm irresponsible. It's not that I don't try. I've always been the person who double-checks everything, who makes lists, who shops around for the best deal. But the reality is, the world feels like it's moving faster than my paycheck. Costs are rising, and every day it seems like my income is still stuck where it was months ago, years ago, barely enough to cover my basic needs. When did this become normal? I stand up and walk to the bathroom, catching my reflection in the mirror. I look tired. More tired than I've ever felt, but I try to smile anyway. I force myself to smile, to be positive, to remind myself that it'll get better someday. But that's starting to feel like a lie. I get dressed quickly, throwing on the same jeans I wore yesterday. They're starting to fade at the seams. At least they still fit. I have a stack of clothes in the back of my closet I haven't worn in months because I can't justify buying new things right now. It's hard not to think about how my friends talk about their shopping trips, the new outfits they bought, how they seem to have so much more flexibility with their finances than I do. The jealousy creeps in, but I shove it down quickly. I don't want to feel bitter. I just want to get through the day. The bus ride to work is long, but it gives me a chance to think, or, more accurately, to try and distract myself. I put on my headphones and listen to a podcast about financial freedom, the kind of thing that's supposed to inspire me. Instead, it just makes me feel more trapped. The hosts talk about budgeting, side hustles, and how anyone can break free if they just put in the work. But that's the problem, isn't it? I'm working as hard as I can, and it's still not enough. There's no magic formula for people like me. I know that. But it's hard to keep hearing it, to see people posting online about how they've found the secret, when I'm stuck on the same cycle of uncertainty. I get to work, punch in, and start my day. It's the usual grind. A mix of phone calls, emails, and projects that need to be done yesterday. I get through it because I have to. It's the only option. But my mind is never fully here. I'm always thinking about money, how much I have, how much I need, how much I could save if only I didn't have to deal with all these expenses. If only life didn't keep getting more expensive. I hate that my mind is consumed with numbers. During lunch, I sit at my desk, picking at the sandwich I brought from home. It's a sad sandwich, the kind I make when I don't have the money to spend on anything else. I've gotten good at packing lunches that are cheap, that will keep me going without costing too much. I used to dream about eating out at fancy restaurants or treating myself to a coffee at that cafe I like. But I can't afford it now. I can barely afford the things I need. I don't know if people really understand what it's like to live like this, to constantly be calculating every penny, to feel like you're just treading water and praying you don't sink. Most of the time, I feel like I'm suffocating. I try not to complain. I try to keep up appearances, because I know everyone is struggling right now. But it gets harder to pretend like everything's okay. When was the last time I actually felt relaxed? When was the last time I could look at my bank account and not feel the weight of every cent? By the time I get home, I'm mentally exhausted. The pressure of it all weighs on me. I don't even want to check my mail anymore. I already know it's going to be a bill or another notice. A few weeks ago, I had to cancel a subscription to a streaming service just so I could afford my car insurance. I've given up on buying anything for myself, clothes, books, that fancy lotion I saw at the store the other day. My friends talk about vacations, but I know I can't even think about traveling. It feels like that part of me, of living freely, of enjoying life, is slowly being erased. I try to remind myself that this won't last forever. I tell myself that there's a way out, that I just need to keep pushing. But sometimes I wonder if that's true. Sometimes I wonder if I'm just stuck in a system that's built to make me fail. I'm not the only one, I know that. But knowing other people are struggling doesn't make it any easier. It doesn't make it feel less personal. It doesn't change the fact that I'm one emergency away from falling into deeper debt or having to make a hard decision about which bill to prioritize this month. Some nights, I sit in my apartment in silence, trying to figure out where I went wrong. I think about the future, the dreams I once had. I used to want to travel, to build a career I loved, to maybe even buy a house one day. Now, I can't even think about buying a new pair of shoes without feeling a pit in my stomach. I used to think I'd be okay, that somehow everything would work out. But I've learned that no amount of wishing or hoping is going to change the fact that the world keeps moving and I'm still stuck in the same place. I've put my dreams on hold. Not because I don't want them anymore, but because the reality of trying to live in this economy is just too much to bear. I try to stay positive, to keep my eyes open for opportunities, to keep grinding away at my job, but it's hard to feel hopeful when I don't know if I'll be able to make rent next month. I can't tell you the last time I allowed myself to truly hope for something better. It feels selfish now, like a luxury I can't afford. There's a part of me that still believes things could change, that somehow I'll figure it out. But a bigger part of me is starting to believe that this is just how it's going to be. A small part of me wonders, though, what if it doesn't have to be this way? What if I didn't have to live in constant fear of my finances? What if my dreams didn't have to stay on hold forever? But for now, I get through each day as best as I can, just trying to stay afloat. That's all I can do. Maybe someday I'll have the space to dream again. But until then, I'll keep going. I wake up every morning to the same relentless buzz of my alarm, a sound that's become both a call to action and a reminder that there's no escaping the weight of it all. I groggily roll out of bed, my feet hitting the cold floor, and already, the thought crosses my mind, how am I going to make it through today? The answer is always the same, one small step at a time. One more day, one more expense, one more round of stretching a paycheck that never seems to quite stretch enough. I'm 25, and I feel like I'm suffocating. It's a quiet kind of suffocation, one that comes not from a single event but from the slow accumulation of stress. It's the mounting rent, the rising cost of groceries, the sudden surprise of medical bills, and the unspoken pressure to have it all together when everything around me is so far from it. I remember when I thought that by this age, I'd be settled. Maybe not rich, but at least stable, able to breathe, to make plans without worrying whether I could afford the basic things that make a life feel normal. That was before I realized how much of my life is dictated by things I can't control: the job market, inflation, rent hikes, utility bills, insurance premiums, each one climbing faster than the paycheck that barely covers them. It's exhausting. Each morning, I do the mental math. What bills are due today? Can I make it through the next week without dipping into my credit card balance? I check my bank account and wince. There's just enough to get by, but the numbers are always lower than they should be. Every purchase feels like a gamble, a question of whether I'll regret it by the end of the month. I try to be strategic about where I put my money, but it doesn't always work. When I buy groceries, I cut corners. The produce section is too expensive now, so I settle for canned vegetables, rice, and whatever's on sale. I've gotten good at figuring out which stores have the best prices, but even so, every trip to the store makes me feel more and more like I'm just a temporary visitor in a life I'm supposed to own. I dream of going out to a restaurant or buying something new for my apartment, but I know I can't. Not right now. Not for the foreseeable future. I've had to get used to being okay with good enough. It's hard to admit to myself, but it's even harder to admit to anyone else. I've stopped mentioning money in conversation because the looks people give when they ask how you're doing, then hear you're struggling, are more than I can bear. So I smile. I say things like, yeah, it's tight right now, but I'll be fine. Just gotta hustle more. And they nod, like they understand, but I don't think they do. They don't see how it feels to wake up in a panic about a late bill, or to lie awake at night wondering if I'll be able to make rent next month. They don't know what it's like to feel trapped in a system that's designed for people who are already ahead, not people like me, trying to catch up. I don't even remember when I first realized that I was falling behind. It wasn't a single moment, but a creeping feeling that began in my early 20s. When I graduated from college, I had dreams of traveling the world, of building a career that didn't just pay the bills but also gave me purpose. I pictured myself finding a job I loved, one that paid decently, and living a life where I could save for a rainy day, take vacations, and, buy myself a new coat without feeling guilty. But somewhere along the way, that dream started to fray. First, it was the student loans, an endless mountain I couldn't climb fast enough. Then it was the job market that didn't care about my degree. I found a position at a small marketing firm, decent pay, but not enough to build any savings or invest in my future. I'm lucky, in a way, I don't have dependents, no kids to support. But the weight of paying my own bills, of being an adult in a world where the cost of living is rising much faster than wages, is a crushing burden. There are days when I think about how much I've given up. I used to love going to concerts, spending time with friends, going on spontaneous trips. But now, when my friends plan things, I make excuses. I can't afford it. I stay home, watch movies on my couch, or just stare at the walls, feeling a strange mix of loneliness and resentment. Sometimes, I can almost hear my dreams whispering to me, reminding me that they're still there, somewhere, lost in the noise of bills and worries, just waiting to be picked up again. But it feels impossible to chase them when survival is the only thing I can focus on. There's a constant push-pull between wanting more for myself and knowing I have to stay in this cycle. I can't afford to take time off work, even though I'm mentally and physically drained. I can't afford to get ahead by investing in myself, like taking a course or getting a certification, even though it could mean better opportunities down the line. I can't even afford to take a day off for mental health because the bills don't stop coming, no matter how exhausted I am. But the worst part? It's the way it makes me feel like I'm failing. Like I'm not good enough. The weight of this constant financial strain isn't just a number, it's emotional. Every day, I feel like I'm letting myself down. And I know it's not all my fault. The system, the economy, the rising costs of living, none of that's in my control. But that doesn't stop me from wondering, why can't I make it work? Why does everyone else seem to have it together, while I'm stuck here, feeling like I'm sinking? There are moments when I wonder what my future looks like. What happens if I keep struggling like this? What if the rest of my life is spent chasing after things I can never quite reach, always one step behind? I try to hold on to hope, try to remind myself that this is just a phase. But there's a voice inside me that whispers, what if this is it? But I keep pushing forward, because what else can I do? There's a strange comfort in that, I suppose. I don't have all the answers, and I may never be able to get ahead, but I have to keep going, if only because stopping feels like giving up. So I wake up each day, do what I can, and try to hold on to whatever little dreams I have left, small as they are, buried under the weight of my bills. Maybe someday, when I've caught my breath, I'll chase those dreams again. But for now, I just want to make it through today. And that's enough. I wake up to the sound of my alarm, but it's not the usual groggy feeling. It's something heavier, something that feels like the weight of 100 responsibilities pressing on my chest before my eyes even open. I grab my phone, squinting at the screen to check my bank account. I've been doing this every morning, a ritual of sorts. Today, it's a bit worse than yesterday, but not by much, just enough to make the pit in my stomach grow a little deeper. $17.42. I'm grateful for every cent, but deep down, I know that number is a reminder of how fragile everything is. It's the first week of the month, so rent is coming up. My student loans are a month behind, and I've been trying to ignore the credit card debt that's slowly building, like an ominous shadow in the background. I've always been the kind of person who avoids conflict, who lets things slide until they can't be ignored anymore. But this pressure, this anxiety I feel in the pit of my stomach every time I think about the numbers on my phone, is impossible to ignore. I get out of bed and stretch, trying to shake the feeling that there's something I'm forgetting, something I should be doing. But I know what it is, I should be working harder. I should be finding a better paying job, or at least one that can cover rent without me having to dip into my savings or, worse, rely on my parents. I hate asking them for help. They've already done so much for me, and I know they're struggling too. It's like I'm watching them slowly sink into the same quicksand I'm trapped in. I pull on some clothes, grab a granola bar, and head out for the day. The streets are busy, and I can already feel the stress of the city pressing in on me. People rushing to work, trying to catch trains, ordering overpriced coffee, everything moving at full speed while I feel stuck. Sometimes, I wish I could just escape, go somewhere far away, but that's just a fantasy. The reality is that I can't afford a vacation, and if I'm being honest, I can't afford to dream anymore. Work is another cycle of exhaustion. I'm juggling 2 part-time jobs, trying to make ends meet. One is at a cafe, where I spend hours on my feet, serving overpriced coffee and sandwiches to people who seem so carefree, so far removed from my reality. I pretend I'm fine, like the burn in my legs isn't constant or the exhaustion from not sleeping enough doesn't hit me all at once when I get home. My second job is freelance writing, which should be a dream come true, but it barely covers my bills. I write articles and blog posts for clients who never seem to appreciate how hard I work. I think I've written 1,000 pieces about productivity and work-life balance, but it feels so hollow when my own balance is completely off-kilter. The irony isn't lost on me. There's always this tightness in my chest, a constant hum of anxiety that never seems to go away. It's the kind of feeling that creeps up when I'm eating lunch alone in my car, trying to squeeze in a break between shifts. It's the uncertainty, the feeling that no matter how hard I work, it'll never be enough. The rent keeps going up, my student loan payments keep increasing, and the cost of living, groceries, gas, utilities, feels like it's just accelerating. Meanwhile, my paycheck feels like a joke. Every dollar I earn just disappears, slipping through my fingers like sand. I try to keep a smile on my face, but it gets harder each day. My friends don't really get it. They tell me I should just move on from the struggle, that things will get better. They say it with the best of intentions, but it only makes me feel more alone. It's not that I don't want things to get better, it's that I don't know how to make them better when the system is set up for me to fail. It's like everyone around me is playing the game, but the rules are stacked against me. I'm stuck in a loop, work more, earn less, stress more. There's no way out, and every time I try to make a plan, life seems to throw something else my way. Sometimes, I let myself daydream, maybe that's the only escape I can afford. I think about traveling, seeing the world, not just in books or online, but for real. I want to go to Paris and eat croissants at a little cafe, or take a road trip across the country, no budget, no plan, just freedom. I've had dreams like that for as long as I can remember, but they feel so distant now. It's like I'm holding on to them with one hand, but everything else is pulling me back. I try to remind myself that it's not forever. That one day, I'll have a job that pays me what I'm worth, that I'll be able to save up and have a cushion, a little buffer between me and the storm. I try to be optimistic, but the truth is, it's hard to believe in that future when the present is so suffocating. And I think about all the people who've had to put their dreams on hold, like me. The ones who didn't have the chance to live out their aspirations because the bills were due, or the opportunity was just out of reach. I try to keep going, though. Every day, I wake up, even when it feels impossible. I keep grinding. I keep pushing through because I know I can't just give up. There's a part of me that still believes things can change, even though the evidence around me suggests otherwise. I just don't know when. Even though the financial strain has affected my mental health, my relationships, and my dreams, I try to hold on to the small moments that remind me of who I am outside of the numbers. I laugh with my friends when we go out for a cheap meal, or I savor the quiet moments when I'm alone, listening to music that brings me comfort. I try to make those moments count, even though they feel fleeting, because they're the only times when the weight feels just a little lighter. There's a sense of shame that comes with living like this, too. The kind of shame that makes you feel like you're doing something wrong, even when you know you're doing everything you can. Sometimes I wonder if I'm the only one who feels this way. And I guess that's why I write, why I tell this story. Because maybe there are others out there who are just like me, feeling like they're drowning in a system that doesn't care about them, but hoping, just hoping, that something will change. Until then, I'll keep going. I'll keep working, keep dreaming, even if the future feels blurry and distant. Because what else is there to do? If nothing else, I know I'm not alone in this fight. And maybe, one day, I'll look back on this time and finally see the hard work paying off. Until then, I'm just trying to make it through today. I wake up every day with this constant pressure on my chest, like a weight that never fully lifts. The first thing I do when I open my eyes is check my phone, not for messages or emails, but to check my bank account. The balance hasn't changed much in the last few days, and I know it won't be going up anytime soon. It's a bit like peering into a bottomless pit and hoping something will come up to fill it, but all you get is the echo of your own voice. I'm 26. I'm supposed to be figuring things out by now, right? At least, that's what everyone tells you. You graduate, get a job, and start building your life. But somehow, I feel like I've skipped the whole building part and just got stuck in this endless loop of surviving. There's this constant hum of stress that follows me wherever I go. I've gotten used to budgeting like it's an Olympic sport, trying to stretch every dollar, but it's never enough. The rent is due again, and I still haven't figured out how I'm going to cover next month's utilities. Food has become a game of balancing what's cheap versus what's healthy, and there's a lot of frozen pizza in my life now. I make it work. I've learned to convince myself that it's fine, that I don't need the extras, but the truth is, I miss the things I used to take for granted. The worst part isn't just the numbers, though, it's the way it feels. It feels like I'm trapped in this system that's designed to make people like me fall behind. Wages barely cover the essentials, let alone anything that could resemble a life outside of work. I used to think I'd have a career by now, or at least a sense of direction. But instead, I'm scraping by, hoping for a little relief that never comes. Every time I see someone post about their new car, a vacation, or even just a nice dinner out, it stings a little. I've stopped scrolling through social media most days because it's hard not to feel like I'm falling behind while everyone else is moving forward. But I also know that I'm not the only one. There are so many of us, stuck in this cycle where our expenses grow faster than our incomes, and the future feels more like a dream than something I can actually touch. I don't really talk about it to anyone. It feels too personal, too vulnerable. I don't want anyone to think I'm failing, even though I feel like I am. People don't talk about money struggles enough, maybe because it's shameful to admit that you're drowning while others seem to be effortlessly gliding through life. There's an expectation that, at my age, I should be doing better. And while I try to stay positive, to remind myself that it's just a phase, I can't ignore the weight of it. The other day, I sat down and tried to figure out how much I've saved for the future. The answer was nothing. The truth is, I've been living paycheck to paycheck for so long that I don't even know how to think about saving. It feels like a distant fantasy. Retirement? I don't know. I can barely manage this month. I've had to put off so many things I used to dream about. I used to fantasize about traveling, seeing the world outside of my city, experiencing something beyond the confines of my routine. But now, traveling feels like an impossible dream. I can't even justify spending a weekend away, not when my bank account is already stretched too thin. And even if I could somehow scrape together the money, I'm not sure I'd be able to enjoy it. How can you enjoy a trip when you know you'll return to a mountain of bills waiting for you? There are things I put off too, like going back to school. I used to want to get a master's degree in something that would open more doors for me, but I can't even imagine the cost. Education feels like a luxury I can't afford. Instead, I keep working in a job that doesn't pay nearly enough for what I'm worth, but it's stable. Stability is all I can cling to right now. The thing that gets to me the most is the feeling that no matter how hard I work, no matter how much I cut back on spending, I'll always be behind. I see people around me moving forward, buying homes, going on vacations, and I can't even afford to get my car fixed without borrowing money. It's hard not to feel like I'm falling short. I try to cope in small ways. I find moments to escape, like when I go on walks or watch a show that makes me laugh. I take solace in the small joys because they're all I have. I focus on the little victories, like when I manage to make a nice dinner from the limited ingredients in my pantry or when I finish a book without thinking about bills for an hour. Those small things help me get through the day, but the nagging anxiety never fully goes away. Sometimes I daydream about what it would be like if things were different. If I didn't have to worry about money constantly, if I could take a deep breath and not feel like I'm sinking. What would it be like to not think about how to make rent every month, or whether my car will break down, or if I can buy a new pair of shoes without feeling guilty? But those dreams seem so far away now, like they're for other people who got lucky. Or maybe they just know how to play the game better than I do. I try to stay hopeful. I try to remind myself that I'm not alone in this. I know there are others out there, just like me, who are feeling the same pressure. Sometimes, it's the thought of a better future, of a day when I won't feel like this anymore, that keeps me going. But some days, the weight of it all feels unbearable, and I wonder if I'll ever get out from under it. I don't know what the future holds, but I've learned to take it one day at a time. I tell myself that it's just a phase, that I'm doing the best I can. But, honestly, I don't know if it will ever get easier. Sometimes I wonder if I'm just stuck in a system that's too big to escape. But for now, all I can do is keep moving forward, even when the future feels uncertain and the days blend into one another. All I can do is keep breathing and hope that somewhere, somehow, things will change. I wake up to the sound of my phone buzzing, the screen flashing a reminder that today's the day I need to pay rent. My stomach twists in response. I lay there for a moment, staring at the ceiling, trying to ignore the inevitable. But I can't. It's always there, this weight on my chest. The pressure of trying to stay afloat in a world where it feels like the rules are stacked against me. I get out of bed, rubbing my eyes, and make my way to the kitchen. The floor creaks beneath me, and I feel a little pang of guilt about the state of the place. It's cluttered, the countertops barely visible under piles of unopened bills and random paperwork. I haven't had the energy to clean up lately. The thought of it feels so exhausting, like another task on an endless list I'll never finish. I grab a mug from the cabinet, pour myself some coffee, black, because I can't justify the cost of milk anymore, and take a seat at the table. My phone buzzes again. A message from my bank, your balance is low. I close it without responding. It's not like I haven't tried. I've worked hard, worked multiple jobs even, but it never seems to be enough. I can't remember the last time I had a real day off, a moment where I didn't have to think about money or where the next bill was coming from. I'm doing everything I can, but it feels like I'm always running on a treadmill set to the highest speed, with no way to get off. I open my email. There's a reminder from the electric company, another one from my student loan provider, and a new credit card statement. The numbers are always climbing. They're all reminders of things I can't escape. I try to focus on something else, anything else, but it's hard. My mind always comes back to the same question: how am I supposed to survive when everything keeps getting more expensive? The rent alone feels like a mountain I'll never scale. I make just enough to cover the bare minimum: rent, utilities, food. I've been scraping by for months now, using credit cards to cover the gaps, but even that is becoming unsustainable. I'm already maxed out on 2 of them. The interest keeps building, and I'm starting to feel like I'm drowning in it. It's hard to find the energy to care about anything else when all I can think about is how to keep my head above water. I wish I could remember what it felt like to dream without fear of how I would pay for it. To want something more than just survival. The last time I had any hope for the future was when I was in college, imagining the career I'd build, the life I'd have. But those dreams seem so far away now. I thought if I worked hard enough, it would pay off, but the economy doesn't reward effort the way I thought it would. There are no guarantees, no promises that if you just keep your head down and work harder, you'll eventually get there. Instead, it's like the finish line keeps moving further out of reach. I used to think I'd travel more, see the world, experience something bigger than this small town and the endless grind of work. But now, travel seems like a luxury I can't afford to even imagine. I've postponed so many things: a vacation, a new laptop, buying new clothes that fit better than the ones I've had for years. I tell myself that one day, when I have more money, I'll do these things, but deep down I know that one day never really comes. It just feels like a carrot on a stick, always out of reach. Even my friendships have started to feel strained. I used to meet up with friends for happy hour or weekend brunches, but now I can't afford that. I've become the one who has to make excuses, the one who cancels plans because I'm too embarrassed to admit that I can't spare the money. They don't understand. How could they? I can't even explain it to myself. It's not that I don't want to spend time with them, it's just that every dollar I spend feels like one I can't afford to lose. I've stopped enjoying the things I used to love. It's not that I don't want to be happy, it's that I can't allow myself to be. Every moment of joy feels like a betrayal to the larger, looming anxiety that my financial future is unstable. Sometimes, I wonder if I'm just stuck. Stuck in a system that's designed to make me fail. The job market isn't any better. Even though I have a degree, it hasn't opened the doors I thought it would. Entry-level jobs don't pay enough to live in the city, and the cost of living keeps climbing. I've applied for higher-paying positions, but the competition is fierce, and I don't have the experience they're looking for. I feel like I'm always just one step behind, never quite getting there. I try to stay positive, remind myself that things will get better, but it's hard when everything keeps getting harder. I can't even imagine what it would feel like to not worry about money. What would it be like to go to the grocery store and not have to check the prices before I put something in my cart? What would it be like to not live in constant fear of a surprise expense that sends me into a tailspin of stress? But even in all of this, there's a small flicker of hope. I've been working on a side hustle, writing, creating content, anything that might bring in a little extra. It's not much yet, but maybe it could be something more. Maybe this is the thing that will finally get me out of this cycle. I don't know for sure, but I have to believe that something will change. If I stop believing that, I'll lose everything. I'll just become numb, drifting through life with no direction. And I can't let that happen. I think about the future, even when it feels impossible to imagine. I want to be free of this constant stress. I want to find peace, to be able to save up for something I actually want instead of just surviving paycheck to paycheck. Maybe one day, I'll be able to look back and see how I made it through this time. But right now, all I can do is keep moving, keep trying, even when it feels like I'm barely holding on. Maybe that's what life is, after all. Just a series of moments when you try to hold it all together, even when it feels like everything is falling apart. I just hope that one day, I'll have the chance to breathe without this weight pressing down on me. Until then, I keep going, day by day, doing what I can to survive. Because right now, surviving is the only thing I can afford to do. I woke up today with a knot in my stomach, a constant reminder of the weight that never really goes away. It's been this way for a while now, this sense that I'm running in place, just barely keeping my head above water. Each day feels like I'm balancing on the edge of something that could tip me over into deeper struggle, something that could finally swallow me whole. And, honestly, I don't know how much longer I can keep pretending that I'm fine. I turn on the shower and let the hot water hit my back, hoping it'll numb the tension that's settled between my shoulders. But it doesn't. It's just another morning in a long line of mornings where I have to face reality head-on. The bills are stacked up on my desk, still unopened, waiting for a moment when I feel brave enough to deal with them. I know that moment will never come, but I can't help but hope for one more day of ignorance, one more day of pretending I don't have to confront the endless loop of expenses, rent, and loans that seem to grow faster than my paycheck. I'm 24 years old, and I've been working since I was 16, always scraping by. I don't know what it would feel like to have a buffer, to have a cushion between myself and the world. It's like I'm always walking a tightrope, and with every new expense, the rope gets thinner, the fall harder. I've tried budgeting. I've tried cutting back on little luxuries, like coffee from the cafe down the street, or nights out with friends that always seem to cost more than I expect. But no matter what I do, the numbers keep climbing. Rent's gone up again. Gas prices are insane. Every time I think I've found a way to manage, something else breaks, whether it's my car, my phone, or my body. I went to the doctor a few weeks ago for a checkup, and the bill still isn't paid. The medicine I need? I haven't been able to afford it for months. I've learned to live with the headaches and fatigue. What else can I do? I can't stop the world from moving. I can't stop the bills from coming. I pull on my jeans and grab my jacket, but I don't have the energy to check my bank account right now. It's like a game I've learned to play: look, don't look, repeat. If I don't check, I don't have to feel that pit in my stomach open up when I see the numbers. But I know it's coming. I'll have to check it eventually. Every time I log in, it's like a test I'm bound to fail. I can hear the voice in my head, the one that tells me that I'm not working hard enough, that I'm not doing enough to get ahead. Everyone else is making it work. Why can't you? It's a mantra I try to ignore, but it creeps in during the quiet moments. The moments when I'm alone with my thoughts, and it feels like I'm losing. I take the bus to work, and I can't help but overhear the conversations around me. People talk about their weekend plans, their dreams of vacation, or buying the next latest gadget. I want that too. I used to have dreams. I used to think about going back to school for a master's degree or traveling the world, seeing places I'd only read about in books. But now? My dreams are smaller. They're quieter. They've shrunk to a point where they feel like distant memories, too far away to reach. I tell myself, someday. someday you'll get there. But the truth is, I'm not sure anymore if there will be a someday. Every step forward seems like it's met with 2 steps back. My future feels like an illusion, something I might never get to touch. Work is the only thing that gives me some sense of control. But even that feels tenuous. My job is stable, sure, but it's not the kind of job that offers much in terms of growth or fulfillment. I show up, do the work, and then go home. And every day feels the same. I get paid just enough to keep up with rent, utilities, and food. But that's it. There's no margin for error, no room for extra. I'm not stupid. I know I'm living paycheck to paycheck. It's just exhausting. It's like I've been in survival mode for so long that I'm not sure who I am beyond it. I don't even know what I'd do if I suddenly had money, if the pressure lifted. I don't even know how to live without the constant weight of worry. I tried asking for help once. I went to a financial counselor, hoping they could give me the tools I needed to get ahead. But it felt like I was talking to someone from another planet. Have you tried budgeting for your emergencies? They asked. Emergency? I don't have emergencies. I just have life. And life is expensive. I don't have a crisis, I just have the relentless push of survival. At night, I can't sleep. Not really. I lie awake thinking about the future, wondering if I'll ever have enough. Enough to feel safe. Enough to dream again. I think about those small moments when I feel like I'm failing, when I can't buy a birthday gift for a friend, or when I can't contribute to a dinner because I'm down to my last few dollars. I feel the shame creeping in, and I remind myself that it's not my fault. The system is broken. The economy is broken. But telling myself that doesn't change the reality of it. I still feel trapped. I've had to let go of so many things I thought I'd have by now. I always imagined I'd be in a better place by 24. Maybe I'd have a savings account. Maybe I'd have a car that wasn't constantly breaking down. Maybe I'd have gone on a vacation. Hell, maybe I'd even be able to afford my own place, not just a small room in a shared apartment with 2 roommates I barely talk to. But instead, I'm stuck. I'm stuck with a job that doesn't pay enough, and with dreams that feel like they've slipped through my fingers. But I keep going. Some days, that's all I can do, just keep going. I hold on to the little things. The moments when I laugh with friends, even though we're all living paycheck to paycheck. The moments when I remind myself that I'm doing the best I can. The moments when I let myself imagine a future, even if it's just a glimpse. I tell myself that, maybe, just maybe, things will get better. Maybe, one day, I won't feel this constant pressure. Maybe, one day, I'll have room to breathe. But for now, I wake up, take a deep breath, and do what I can to get through another day. And that has to be enough. For now. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new videos. Also, leave a comment, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your support and engagement mean a lot to me. See you in the next video.